Welcome to the Greek Carnivore podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Greek Carnivore podcast, the first of the series. And I have the pleasure to invite my friend Clément. He has a very interesting story today to share with us, and I'm sure we're going to hear from him shortly. I would like just to say to the community, to the Greek community, that this is going to be some podcasts that I'm going to bring some guests, and we're going to have either in English, in French, could be in Greek, but we will have the subtitles always in Greek. So that will be the idea. And so welcome, Clément.
Thank
And
you.
thank you.
Thank you, Alexandros.
Or Alexandros. Yeah,
Alexandros is the Greek name, right?
exactly. Alexandros.
Great.
So with Clément, we had one podcast where you interviewed me, and now it's my turn to return the favor, and I would like really for you to give the opportunity to my audience, but also to your audience, to learn a bit more about you. So what I would like to start with is, before Carnivore, who is Clément before Carnivore?
Well, thank you. Okay. So I was born in Marseille, which was actually built by the Phoenicians. So the origin of my hometown is Greek. It was
Interesting.
6th century before Christ. So it's the oldest city in France. So I grew up around the Mediterranean, and I was lucky to have parents who were both athletes. And my dad especially was an elite marathon runner, another Greek discipline, right? Marathon.
Yeah, yeah.
So he ran in 1985, 2 hours 13 minutes, when the world record was 2:08. So just to give you the kind of athlete he was. And so I grew up around this family, training a lot. Sports was everywhere, right? So I grew up normally like most kids, and I played soccer most of my teenage years. And at some point around 18, 19, I decided to go into running, triathlon, running and everything. Endurance sports, mostly, until I was 32. I was working next to it, but I was training still a lot, competitively, I would say. And by the age 22, I became a personal trainer next to that. So it was very easy for me to go in that field, as sports was always something natural. So I never felt I was learning much. It was just like, getting a certification to say, oh, I have that certification. But most of the content, I experienced it before through the competition and through my parents' experience in sports field. So I was fine. I mean, before Carnivore, I was like everybody else. I was believing most of the thing that everybody else believes, which means you need to have a balanced diet, a little bit of everything, nothing in excess. And as long as you exercise, you will be very healthy.
So we can say that you had a good life. You had activities. You were very active. You had in your practice now. You are so certified
Yeah.
personal trainer, right? And so you are following all these things you've
Yeah.
learned, or
At some point, I came to Switzerland, and I was working in Geneva for 5 years. Then I moved to Canada. a little bit in the US. Then I came back to Europe. I was learning Thai massage therapy. Um, so I included it in my practice, and everything was fine. And at some point, I decided that maybe after 10, 11 years, that I wanted to change life. So I decided, oh, let's do a travel agency because I love traveling. So I decided I will move in another field. And while I was, you know, building this tour operating company, I traveled for a year and a half. I wasn't coaching anymore much or massaging. And I was traveling the world to make sure that I could, build up these tours. So I kind of stopped exercising the way I used to. So over 2, 3 years, I started to gain weight. Not right away, probably a year after I stopped, slowly but surely, a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. I was not worried because I thought I'll do like I've always done, go to the stadium, I'll start to run again or to go to the gym, and then maybe 2 months, a month, it will be gone, right? Because it was never like big amount of extra fat. It was like maybe 2 kilos, 3 kilos. So when I was younger, it would take me 4 or 5 days to get it away. So I didn't pay attention to it. And after, 2 years, I reached a point where I was 8 kilograms of extra fat, which most people might think, well, this is not a lot, right? But for
Yeah.
someone being an athlete, very lean, endurance athlete, very light, 8 kilos is a lot. I've
Hmm.
never seen myself with like that much weight. So I thought, okay, fine. I'm a trainer. It will be easy for me. Just go to the gym, train every day.
And why was it important? Why was it important to you that those 8 kilos, other than was it the performance? You had some issue
No,
with performances, or
no, I was not training at the time anymore competitively. But I knew that, being overweight is not a good thing. Some people may think that, that they may like it, they may be proud of it. Fine, I respect it. But we all know that it will bring some, negative health impact into your body. So I thought, no, 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 I'm not going there. I was reaching around 35, 34 years old. And that is the point where most people start to gain weight, start to be, oh, that's the age, and your metabolism slows down. That's what you hear, right?
yeah, yeah.
Between 35 and 40. So you should accept it. But for me, I was like, no. So anyway, I went to the gym and I thought in my head, a month and a half would be enough. Just go every day and, slowly it will go. Believing calories in, calories out. As long as you exercise, you will lose the weight. This is what I preach to the clients for the past 10 years. So I'm very convinced. I have no doubt I will succeed. Well, a month and a half later, what happened? Nothing at all. I still had the same fat around the waist. I was like, maybe my metabolism slows down. That's why it will take more time, right? So let's do, okay, I will give myself another month and a half to allow my body to pick up the new, um, pace.
And at this point, you were just exercising more, right? There was
Yeah.
nothing about
I was going two
any
hours every day to the gym, 2 hours every day.
and anything about the diet at this point, or it was just exercise. It's gonna go away and
Yeah.
do
And
whatever you've been eating. Just eat the same and just
yeah,
exercise. That's gonna be enough.
I'll go back to the diet because that's the important thing. But
Hmm.
so 3 months, nothing at all. 5 months, nothing at all. And then I was like, I have to admit I'm failing and I don't like to fail. So I was like, okay, obviously it doesn't work. And I did not question right away the method. I questioned my system. I said, maybe something is broken in me. Maybe something doesn't work properly, metabolically speaking. So anyway, back to the diet before I move on. I grew up with parents who were athletes in the 80s, 90s, which was the golden era for the carbo loading theory, which is you have to eat, and carbo load your body as much as you can before competition. And you had all these theories, 2 days before, 3 days before, blah, blah, blah. So you could have this amount of energy during the competition,
And
especially.
especially the endurance marathon runners.
So I was raised from 5, 6 years old with cereals in the morning, pasta at noon, and rice in the evening, or potatoes, whatever. But always carbs every day. And my parents stayed quite lean. So I could not ever question the carbs thing because, my parents are quite thin. My dad would run every day, 2 hours, even when he stopped his career. And yeah, so I was just eating a lot of bread, like the whole wheat, bread and all these kind of things. Um, Special grain bread, pasta, rice, name it. Sweet potatoes, plantain, all of those things, right? And meat was always part of my diet, but the carbs was like a lot. And I would never thought of it as a problem. So anyway, at some point, I was listening Jordan Peterson on other matters, right? And he mentioned the carnivore diet. I listened to it as okay, that's interesting. And the next video YouTube brought me was a video from Dr. Paul Mason in Australia, who has done a lot of talks and conferences about the role of carbs, vegetable oils, and all these kind of things, and how they impact your body. And in one of the video, he was showing that actually high consumption of carbs are, bringing your insulin high, and that chronic elevated insulin will increase the fat storage. Okay, this, fine. But then he said the insulin will downregulate or suppress an hormone called hormone sensitive lipase in the adipocyte. So the fatty acid cannot cannot cross the adipocyte to get used as an energy. So it's like it's being trapped. And then when I saw that graph or that explanation, I was like, okay, now I get it. I can go 3-4 hours a day if I want. But if my insulin is high, and if that insulin deactivates that hormone sensitive lipase, then my fat will stay stored. It will never be oxidized or used as energy. That's why I'm not losing. So I started to, go into these videos and try to understand more and more and more. And it made so much sense. It was so much logical that at some point I said, okay, I'll change the experiment just to see. I'm not going to the gym anymore. I'm not spending any calories anymore, but I'm not putting sugar in my body as much as I used to, which means at the time I would keep maybe 2 sushi meals a week and probably a beer a week at the first. So it was still some carbs during the week, but probably 95% less than before. So, and I see my body going like, or the fat, I had going like, getting away without exercising. And I was like, oh, okay, so this is working. So then I went to Thailand at the time for a month and a half because I have my massage teacher over there. And when I go to Thailand, I try to stay 4 to 6 weeks, once a year. And when I'm there, I'm training Muay Thai as much as I can. So probably 1 or 2 training per day if I can. So I saw that the first months I did the low carb, I lost weight. I lost fat. We can speak about that later. Weight is not fat, right? Fat mass is fat mass. And so when you want to lose fat, okay, I lost it like probably 3.5 kilograms of fat. Mostly water at the beginning and then fat came in, right? So anyway, I went to Thailand and then I signed up in the gym. And the first day, I just realized, now I'm doing this low carb or no carb kind of animal-based diet because I went straight into carnivore. I was never a big fan of vegetables anyways. And then I listened also to some other doctors warning about the toxins about the plants. So I was like, okay, let's try that. I looked at Dr. Anthony Chaffee, Sean Baker, Paul Mason, and others, Ken Berry. And you look at these guys, they look healthy. They look very healthy. So I was like, it doesn't seem to be any harm in that. Anyway, I'll try. I give it 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, I'll see. So I go to the training and I'm scared because I'm thinking I've trained all my life full of carbs because psychologically that would bring me a security, a mental security to think, okay, I have it now. I can go for the training full power. Now I'm going to Muay Thai, which is also a high demand in terms of energy. And I have no carbs. And I'm like, okay, this will be a good test. And I do the training. The training is usually an hour and a half. And that day, I took a private class with the teacher because just to get to know him and stuff. And at some point, it's like, we do the 5 minutes or 10 minutes round with the power and you kick, you kick, you kick. And at some point, it's like, okay, finish now. And I'm like, I want to do more. It's I'm still, I can do more. I said to him, I can do more. So he was nice because Thai people don't say no, right? It's a cultural thing. So it's like, okay. So we go again, boom, 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 another 10 minutes. And he's like, okay, finish now. And I said, no, it's okay. I can do one more. For me, it was like a game, right? I was like trying to test myself, like, oh, I can do this. Again, it was nice. Second time, he gave me another 5, 10 minutes. I don't remember. So at some point, he said, okay, now finish, right? And then I say, why? He's like, oh, it's 2 hours. Look at the clock. It's like 2 hours. I'm like, okay, so I went over the hour and a half for 30 minutes without even knowing.
And that was just how long after you started?
Probably a month and a half, I would say. A month and
So
a
6
half.
weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, 6 weeks. So that's the time that you can really well adapt because during the first month, I did not exercise. So my body had the time to adapt to the fat adapted kind of.
And that's what I was gonna ask you because I had a similar experience.
Mhm.
The first 6 months, I didn't feel like, because for me it was, as I told you last time, it was for the energy, right? That was the energy, my issue. And so for this first 6 months, I didn't feel like I had any energy to spend, and it was going gradually. And then on the sixth week, which is quite interesting, you had as well the sixth week, coincidence or not, I don't know, but this is what I also felt, that I could lift more. I could go. I was actually going 2 hours as well on the gym,
Huh.
and I didn't feel anything. So I can totally relate to that. So
I think if you go too fast, your body doesn't know. It's not used to you to using fat as a fuel, and is still dependent on sugar, and now it doesn't have the sugar. So if it's too abrupt or too short, yeah, your body you will feel you won't function properly. So I would always advise not to do that much sports for the first months, so then your body can easily change and adapt to another source of fuel, which are fats and ketones. So anyway, I had this experience, came back from Thailand, and then I went into more of readings and studying. I signed up in a class with the Knox Foundation, or the Nutrition Network, which is the foundation from Professor Tim Knox. And it is very ironic because he was one, if not the one, with other people in South Africa to kind of bring the carbo-loading theory out. And he was himself a marathon runner and endurance athlete. And when he reached, I think, early 50s, he became type 2 diabetes. And then by studying more, he realized that everything he said before was wrong. So he went out publicly and he said, look, sorry guys, I was wrong. I wrote that, but now I don't think that anymore. I think this is wrong. And people should minimize sugars or carbs because you just put yourself at risk of high chronic elevated insulin, which eventually will reach a level where you will develop type 2 diabetes. And then as soon as he was more public about it, he got a 4 years case for a tweet. He just made a tweet and then he went on 4 years case. His lab, I think, was closed, if I'm not mistaken, at the university. And he was a
And what was the tweet about? What did he wrote?
He mainly said that babies should be weaned on LCHF, which is absolutely right, which are the recommendations, because the breast milk are mostly made out of fat. You don't find sugar in breast milk. So he said that. He said baby should be, I think it was the tweet, should be weaned on LCHF, which means low carb, high fat. And then some association attacked him. And then the case lasts 4 years. So then he developed his institution called Knox Foundation and the Nutrition Network, which is a worldwide network for low carb, high fat, or ketogenic nutritionists, health coach, doctors. It's so I took a class with them for about a year, and the class was a metabolic health practitioner. I thought of doing it in Switzerland, where I live, but I at some point decided not to. Why? Because I think in Europe the whole message is still around 50% of carbs or fiber. Now they call it fiber.
So the same certification was
Maybe
here in Switzerland or similar?
I wanted a certification based on ketogenic nutrition,
Mm-hmm.
low carb nutrition, and you can look. You don't find it as a mainstream or as a mainstream training. They just push the same thing. Lots of vegetables and fruits, not a lot of meat, maybe 15 to 20%, mostly lean meat, chicken, avoid fatty meat.
And how about during your training when you did this for the personal coach certification? Did you have any training about nutrition or dietary?
The same thing, 50% carb, 15 to 20% protein, and 30 to 35% fat. mainly polyunsaturated and monounsaturated fat. Avoid saturated fat. That's the main thing that doctors are telling their patients. The recommendation that you find in hospitals. And in some countries, if the hospital does not follow these recommendations, they cannot perform, they cannot open. So there is now the governments are telling basically every institutions which are under the government, this is what you should eat. It's a law. It's a dogma. You know, the 10 Commandments. It's the
The
same.
guidelines, right? The guidelines that they're giving us.
Commandment number 1, you will eat as much fiber as you want. Commandment number 2, you will avoid saturated fat. Commandment number 3, you will avoid fatty meat. Commandment number 4, and that goes on, right? So that's why I didn't decide to do it on the, let's say, legal way. Legal as you being recognized as an official nutritionist, because you're saying the official truth, the official version. So anyway, I did that, and it was mostly for myself, because once you start carnivore, most people around you, usually, not all the time, but usually, because it's so extreme, it sounds so far away, so opposite to everything that people heard. They think you're just a crazy guy. What? Only meat? No. You can't eat only meat? I said, yes, I eat only meat. No, you must be killing. What about vegetables? You eat vegetables, right? I'm like, no, why don't you understand in only meat? I would have said meat, but only means only, right? So anyway, so you go like this, and then people try to, once you start to bring one argument that makes sense, they throw something at you as, okay, get this one. What about this? What about that? What about this and that? The ecology, the ethical part, and what about the planet? What about the pollution? So they jump from a thing to another to justify that what you're doing is completely wrong. Well, I don't think it's good. Some people said to me, I don't think that must not be good for you. I'm sorry. I don't know as much as you seem to know, but I don't think this is good. Okay, now it's about belief. So for me to study allowed me to at least be more secure on my knowledge. And the funny thing, I'm today talking to you, going on YouTube and stuff like that. I've always tried to stay away from social media. I've always had a negative preconceived on social media. First. Second, I always stayed far away from nutrition, even as a trainer, because the way you hear nutrition in the personal training field of fitness is always about diet. I want to lose weight, meaning fat, right? So for me, I was so much a believer of calories in, calories out. I was like, what do you need to do a diet? You can eat as long as you exercise, as long as you put the effort. You will not be fat. Look at my dad. Look at me. I was arrogant in my certitude. So yeah, I mean,
And how did you came up with? So you came back from the trip in Thailand, and then you started
the class.
working again, right?
Yeah.
Or in the class, right? So you finished your class, you got certified,
Mm-hmm.
and now you're excited to share it, right? I guess with people.
At some point, I was waiting to get certified before I could speak to client directly, because I know you are a physio, and yesterday you said that as a physio, sometimes you cannot cross that barrier of speaking about nutrition because people just see you as a physio, and if what you say through nutrition goes against everything else they heard, even though from the doctors, then oh no, thank you, but I don't want to hear that. And I understand that as a physio, but now as a trainer, we are not into this pathological kind of field in a way. We're a little bit, we try to be a little bit before in the preventive aspect. But people associate all the time training and nutrition, and they ask you, "What about nutrition? What do you? Can you give some advice about nutrition? Because I know nutrition is important." And I would say, "Yes, indeed, it is."
What
And
do
then,
you what did you used to say? Well, on that point, I'd like just to take a second before, because I think it's really an interesting topic we're about to enter. Uh, just before you say what you're doing now, maybe what did you used to say to those people that were asking you these questions about what should I eat? Do you have any
before,
recommendations before? Yeah,
no,
before.
as I said, I was not into nutrition. I didn't want to be into nutrition. So if someone would ask me, I would say, "Look, for me, if you exercise enough, you will lose calories. It's a calorie deficit balance, energy balance. It's very simple. So you don't need to worry about diet. Forget this diet. They don't work at some point." So I was the balanced voice, the little soldier following the lines. And I said to people, "I'm not trained in nutrition. I don't know. I'm not really interested." This is what I was saying before.
Okay, and it's very interesting that they were asking you, right? Since you say that it's not necessarily something you've studied, it's not your field, or it's not something that you are supposed to know, right? As a
Yeah,
fitness coach.
but fitness is usually associated with bodybuilding. And again, let's use the word fitness as the generic word. Prior to the 70s, it was actually a bodybuilding environment. A little bit of aerobic came later in the 70s with Kenneth Cooper and Jane Fonda and all these kind of things. And then later on with Les Mills, with the concept class and everything. Now it's CrossFit. So, but yeah, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, so the bodybuilding activity kind of was always associated with fitness. And then bodybuilders, of course, they have all sorts of nutrition approach, gain muscle. So when the mass of the people started to get into fitness industry, they always, heard these bodybuilders talking about nutrition. So then if you're a trainer, you're in the fitness, you must know about nutrition. Because after all, you make a muscle work, you should know what you need as a recovery things and stuff. So which is not wrong in a way, but I was coming from endurance sports mainly, so I was not into bodybuilding anyway. So my interest was
So, and if I understood, like you were not necessarily answering to them in any direct way because you felt like, okay, I don't have any credentials on that. I don't know anything about it.
yeah.
All I can tell you is that what I know, it's just move and you're gonna be better off just by burning some calories, right?
More,
And how
move more, eat less.
move more, eat less, right? Yeah, calories in, calories out, and burn more. You're gonna for sure lose it. And what was the shift? Like what is it now? You're coming back from Thailand. You just did your certification, and you have these people now. They are still asking you. Uh, and now what happens? Now it's the interesting story.
Well,
Uh,
I failed. Everything all the advice I gave in that sense to the people for 10 years at some point did not work on me. So I had to realize this is wrong. And then I was studying and I understood why it was wrong. And then I was experiencing more and more energy on myself, more and more mental clarity, more and more energy when I would go and train. less fatigue, better sleep. I had few issues on the gastrointestinal aspect gone. It's been a year and a half I've been doing carnivore diet. I have not felt anything like the thing I used to feel before. Um,
Like what, for example?
yeah,
What
for
were
example,
the things?
I used to cook a lot of Caribbean food with a lot of spices and chili pepper and stuff like that. And I would get at some point more and more. So the thing would build up. Hemorrhoids. I would go to the toilet, I would see some blood, and I would go, okay. I would not worry. I'm not worry. Um, I don't worry too much generally, but then I would say, okay. Or I would have this sharp pain coming. I think it was, I'm pretty sure it was somewhere in the colon, a different place, different spots. And maybe once or twice a month, it would force me to sit. I couldn't stand, like very sharp, like a needle or a knife. Maybe 5 seconds, gone. And then I can move on. So I would never worry too much. I say, okay, maybe it's something I ate. I think it was something I ate indeed. But anyway, this was gone. And I had migraines maybe 3 times a week when I would walk up from there all the way to the eye. Gone. The weight went like I mean the fat was gone. I'm even leaner than what I was when I was doing triathlon, and I was 26. And I was
Did you gain any muscle? Did you gain any muscle or no?
I'm not training too much in the gym, uh,
Mm-hmm.
but I've noticed that I kept my muscle mass intact, and I just go maybe once a week, twice a week sometimes if I have time, but usually it's more like once a week, and I didn't lose any muscle mass. Um,
So
and now
you have the same muscle mass as you had when you were training
I have a better
daily.
digestion, I have a better shape. Now I'm 37, training once a week than when I was training 18 or 20 hours a day. 20 hours a week, being a competitive triathlete when I was 27. So for me, yeah, people can tell you all kind of theories. The symptoms I had, it's not crazy symptoms, are gone. Okay. The energy is like 10 times higher. I feel that I have 10 or 15 points IQ higher.
I think your story is very interesting
And
because there are a lot of people, and I'm sorry to cut you, but
go
there
ahead.
are a lot of people that they might identify with you with this story. And I was certainly one of those people that I thought, well, I don't have I don't have a big deal of problems, but they're enough that it bothers you, right?
Yeah.
They're enough um, that you will go consult. And I have daily. I see people where they have different pains, and there's no explanation to it. There's no cure to it. And what you said about the back pain, I see it very often where people just come one day, they have a pain in the lower back on the right side. The week later, they will come, it's on the left side.
Mhm.
Then it's gone, it's on the shoulder. And you're like, okay, what's the issue? Right? And so I think a story like yours might really resonate to those people, because it's not just a little pain, right?
No,
It's a general thing.
it's a chronic state that gets slowly and slowly worse and worse. And sometimes as well, and now I see it in patients or clients, we talk about the diet, but sometimes over medication brings a lot of side effects. I had a client the other day, he had this massive pain in the arm, and I asked him what does he take as pills or medication, and he said it's a hypotensive medication. to bring the blood pressure lower. And then I said, what is the name of your medication? And I went on Google and I checked the medication side effects. First thing was like nervous pain, muscle pain, back pain, and so on and so on. And the thing was like huge list of side effects. He stopped them. He asked his doctor, of course, and he stopped them and he said, oh, the pain is gone. Yes. Like we all know statins, for example, they bring a lot of myalgia or fibromyalgia. I don't know how you say in English. So that's something that people also should bear in mind. So anyway, so then, yeah.
Yeah. So to come back to the story where you get people asking you, and I would really like if you want to share the story, if that's something that you're comfortable sharing, of course. Your experience with now sharing your knowledge, and you're certified, and you have some knowledge that you can back it with facts, right? And with your diploma. And so how are people as open to it, and how do they react?
Well, now you understand things a little bit more. You're not a doctor, but you know that certain things will certainly harm you, more or less, sooner or later. Okay? So you train people, you do massage therapy, and the massage therapy I do is mostly for pathologies, tendinitis or frozen shoulder or plantar fasciitis, this kind of thing. I don't do relaxing massage. So I have some techniques, I use them, and usually they work because they're very efficient. And sometimes the person comes back. Oh, it was fine for 2 weeks, but now it's back again. So before I would just focus into massage, I try to get new technique, and if maybe the pain come back is because I didn't, target this muscle or this tendon or this way, da 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 da. But now I realized, okay, inflammation can come from the inside. Being overweight or obese will bring you an extra charge, an extra weight that your joint will have to carry. For some people, they're genetically designed, or let's say programmed, to be around 70 kilos, which is my case, for example. So I know I've always be around 70, 71, 72, depending on how much competition I would do at the time. So once I reached 78 or 76 and I was trying to run, I developed myself 2 years plantar fasciitis. And I couldn't get rid of it. And once I went to carnivore diet, I lost weight. I got some treatment from my teacher in Thailand. And after, I think, 2 sessions, it was gone. Just to say that, because most of the time as a therapist, you try to think about the techniques. You don't look at other factors outside of your own specialty. And then I started to look at people's weight or, food habits. And then I started to hear the wrong answers all the time. Right? Like not enough meat or red meat, too much carbs. Yeah, sugar, I like it. I'm kind of addict, but I don't say it. And I eat a lot of vegetables. So everything that will bring inflammation to your body. And then I was like, oh, naive. I was very naive. I thought, okay, I want to help you. So did you know about that? Like throwing these things to their face. Like, actually red meat is good for you, because I would explain that, but the brain would be frozen because they cannot hear red meat is good for you. Doesn't cope with what they heard before. Vegetables is not so good for you. You're gonna have a lot of toxins, lectins, oxalates, phytates, etc., etc. And then they, what? What is he talking about? Vegetables are good for me? Fruits? No, fruits is fructose. You should avoid fructose. Fructose is even worse than glucose. It will harm your liver at some point to a certain extent. Not with one apple, of course, but like, you know. And then I try to tell them, and most people, they would never say, especially in Switzerland, they would never, they're a bit like Thai sometimes. They don't confront you. They would never say, no, I don't want to hear what you have to say. They'd say, oh, okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I'd say, do you want me to send you an email so you can actually, discover and watch these videos? I would always tell them, make sure you spend some time in educating yourself. Don't believe me. I would always say that. I would say 80 to 85% of people would listen with a positive and open state of mind. And then you get these 15% that react very negatively. And it happened that some people complained, because I work with a private clientele, and I work also in a context where the people I reach are not my clients. So they started to complain. And then someone told me, oh, we got these complaints about you talking about nutrition, and the person came for a massage. And I said, yeah, but the person told me about the, how should I say?
They were the one asking you, right? They were the
Well,
ones
first of
that
all,
were asking you for advice.
most of the time they were the one asking me for advice.
Mm-hmm.
And if they didn't ask, and I see that the person tells me, oh, I've had that for 2 years, it doesn't go, I've tried everything, but the pain remains, I've done some MRI, some echography, some all kind of imagery, and still nobody found anything. Then I felt that I was the good guy telling them, what about sugar? Sugar can really harm you, plants, because they have this and that, da, 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 da. So probably these people didn't want to hear that, because when you speak about sugar, you touch, not all the time, but most of the time, addiction. So it's like it's saying to a drug addict, you need to stop that. It will walk away from you. He doesn't want to hear that. So then I was like in my head, how come these people complain? About what? I was giving them probably the best advice they had on that topic. And anyway, then at some point I decided that I would not speak about it. And more people were coming and asking about nutrition. So it's a very difficult situation, because as a trainer, once you have some knowledge, some things, and people ask you for those things, should I shut my mouth? Should I say what I think is true? And from an ethical point of view, if I know that sugar is going to harm you, if I know that vegetable oils will going to harm you, it's my duty. I'm sorry, it's my duty from an ethical perspective to at least give you the information, tell you, hey, this may potentially harm you, etc. Then what the people do with it is none of my business. It's their responsibility to, do you want to improve your health or not? And if me telling you that sugar is bad, that polyunsaturated fat through vegetable oils are very bad, and red meat is very good. And then you want to think that I'm a bad guy. You want to think that, oh, I wasn't nice with you because I didn't give the massage. And I was really trying to help you through the cause. Because when you do training or when you do this, rehab, when you do this massage therapy, sometimes it works. It happened to me many times. I do 2 or 3 sessions, the thing is gone. Great. Then the therapy was accurate for that case. But from the chronic pain thing, most of the time it doesn't work. It works minimally. So then you become frustrated as a therapist. And then once you have that tool and you say, oh, maybe the cause, not the symptom, we're not going to go into the symptom. I can help you to actually help you to resolve the cause. So then your symptom will be away forever.
Mm-hmm.
And then you become the bad guy because you said something that goes against the mainstream. It's a very interesting journey going through that, because I've never had any complaint within these 15 plus years doing that job, training people and massage for the last 10 years, 8, 9 years. So, and that motivated me to create this Carnivore Renaissance channel on YouTube, because I thought, all right, they can always argue that I'm not an official nutritionist. They can always argue that I'm not a doctor, even though doctors are not trained in nutrition. My brother is in his 5th years of medical school. They have not done probably 16 hours, 4 class of 4 hours of nutrition, which is learning the mainstream thing. So out of 5 years, you have 4 class of 4 hours of nutrition. So the way the body reacts to the nutrients, to the food that you put into your mouth, doesn't seem to interest doctors or the medical institution, because they will give you pills to solve these symptoms. Who cares about the cause? We don't know. It's an idiopathic disease. We don't know the cause. Okay, it's a genetic disease. It's genetic. There is nothing you can do about it. So what activate the genes, or what modify the expression of the genes? Who cares, right? So I decided to create that channel and to say, okay, now I know what I know. I keep it for those who want to listen. And some clients are listening and they got great results. Those who listened had very incredible result within 6 months, losing 8 kilograms, just training once a week, changing the food, better sleep, psoriasis gone, eczema gone, this kind of chronic things, headaches gone, chronic fatigue gone. And a lot of them are like, wow, it's been a long time, I didn't feel so good. So it kind of encourages me to pursue that and keep bringing that message out, because the main message was eat more, move more, eat less, eat balance, vegetable foods, not red meat. What is the result after 50 years of that? More obese people, more sick people.
So for you, moving is not something that is gonna bring you down the kilos, down the extra fat, or getting what we're taught. And also as a physio, that's what we're taught to. Well, you have to move, and that's how you get your body to be more functionable, and
Okay.
to be able to move. You gotta move more. So
Yeah.
when you have a certain pain or something, like you should treat it by movement.
Yeah.
So you have some extra kilos, you have to move. So, and what you're saying is that that's not true. That's not the way.
Okay. Because people might think, well, this guy is like kind of saying something against his own activity. No, training, being physically active, is a key factor in your well-being. You need to move. People don't move anymore. They're seated all day long. You need to move. You need to walk every day in the morning, in the evening. Okay. Maybe if you don't get the motivation, maybe you can get a dog. It will help you to get out, you know. But if you want to do sports for muscle building, which means building muscle mass to avoid the later age when your body will physiologically decrease its own muscle mass. It's called sarcopenia. Then that's great. Just train for that. Go to the gym, build up muscle. Great. If you want to work out for mobility joint or joint mobility or muscle flexibility, great. Go to the gym and work for that. But if you go to the gym believing that weight loss or fat loss, because losing weight doesn't mean anything. What weight? Muscle, water, fat. So if you think that sports or physical activity will have an impact on fat, on fat loss, then please allow me to give you a fact. The basal metabolic rate is actually represents 95% of the total expenditure in terms of calories. So 95% of your calories are spent by the basal metabolic rate, which is mainly your physiological function. So, and then you have three other categories which are related to your physiology that would take an exercise come at the end. So probably 1 or 2%.
So the 95%, just to be clear for everybody,
Great.
so the 95% is of the energy, right, is used for breathing, for what? For the heartbeat, for the heat, for digestion,
functions, liver functions, body thermogenesis,
and only 5% is for movement and all the rest.
5% would be for thermogenic effect of food, non-exercise activity, thermogenesis, excess post-exercise oxygen consumption, and exercise. So in
All that is at 5%. Wow.
So, and again, you don't need to do a PhD in biochemistry. Let's say your Apple Watch is telling you, oh, you lost 400 calories. Based on what? Because the basal metabolic rate is can be very different from two people based on the gender, the age, the genetic, ethnicity, name it. There are many factors that will be that will have an effect on it. But anyway, so you lose those 400 calories. But now what did you increase? Hunger. You're hungry after your training, especially if you do cardio. The hunger signals are even higher when you do endurance or cardio than when you do resistance training. Then you go home and you just eat. And if you don't eat because you keep in your mind, oh, no, I should not eat too much, right? Because if I spend calories out in the gym and I take them back, that doesn't make sense, which is logical. Now you start to starve yourself. You starve yourself, you start to be hungry, and the signal you send to your body is what? It's like, oh, if your body starts to function with 2,000 calories, you spend 400, and now you're not replacing them. You just try to, to lower the intake. Your body's like, what's happening? I'm in danger. I'm not receiving what I'm used to. And this is set in your brain. So now your body will just shut down slowly. It will slow down your heartbeat. It will slow down your blood pressure. It will slow down all the basal metabolic rate that we spoke about will slow down. So if you reduce calories in, your body will reduce calories out because you survive. And after, maybe depending on people, but 2-3 days, you don't lose anything anymore because your body's like, I'm not allowing that energy to go out because otherwise we will die. Right? So I will try to keep everything, meaning sometimes storing.
And that's the guidelines, right? That's what they're telling us to do.
And that's
right?
why many people have tried this calories in, calories out or calorie deficit diet, and it never worked for most people. And then when they go back to the normal eating, which means a lot of carbs, the rebound is massive because now the body is like,
yeah, give me that.
I'll keep it because next time I'll go close to death, I'll make sure I have some reserves. So you're changing your metabolism. And no, 1 calorie is not 1 calorie. A calorie, if you eat 1,000 calories of fat, it will not have the same effect on your insulin compared to 1,000 calories of pure sugar or carbs. It won't have the same metabolic effect on your health.
And there's also the density of the food, right? Like what is it's not just the calories, it's also what are the nutrients that you ingest in those calories, in those foods that you're ingesting, what are the key components in that. And it so happens that the meat is one of it's actually the most dense food.
Yes.
And it has almost everything that our body needs.
Yes.
And not only we are going away from it, but we're saying it's even dangerous to eat it, which is something completely crazy, right? When we know that we've been living meat, eating meat for long time.
Well, the calorie term in itself, there are many people who spoke about it, and I'm thinking of Professor Bart K. If people want to go and see his channel, he speaks about it very well. And I had interviewed Dr. Anthony Chaffee last week on my channel, and he was explaining at some point in the video the whole misconception about the calories in, calories out, and why it was a fraudulent theory. He's explaining in a more scientific way, so probably we won't go deep in it today.
I invite all our listeners to go and watch the Carnivore Renaissance channel and to see this interview as well. With Dr. Shafi. Very, very, very interesting podcast as well. And there were a lot of things that were said there that is worth listening. And I think also just on to take advantage of this segue to say that I think that your path, the way that you take this route of the podcasting and discussing what we're doing now, I think that's the most how to say it's better to bring people to your world than going at them, right? And going at them quote unquote and just giving them some info that they are not necessarily waiting for them, right? In a context of a fitness or a massage or a physiotherapy or anything that they are not necessarily expecting some things. And I think that a platform like YouTube and all this social media where they can receive some information, you can scroll if you don't like it, but I see that there is a lot of interest and more in this diet, right? And we see stories just pile, and yours and mine are one of the one of these pile.
Yours and mine are not crazy story. I've heard like stories you go, wow, you know. But there's two things that I want to relate. Just to close that chapter on weight loss, because I would like advise anybody who is interested to read that book. It's called The Obesity Code from Dr. Um, Jason Fung. He's a specialist in diabetes, but there's might be other factors, but the main driver for fat storage is high insulin. The main factor for high insulin is high carbs consumption. So if you remove the carbs, your insulin lowers, comes down, and then your fat storage lowers as well, and then your fat oxidation, your ability to metabolically oxidize fat as energy fuel, will be increasing, right? Will increase. So it's very simple, very simple. Lower the carb, lower the insulin, lower the fat, right? Yeah, in some cases it's more complicated than that, but for the majority of us, it's like that. And then on the chapter of how do we speak to the clients to make an echo to what you said, it seems that the human mind, we as a species, collectively and most of the time individually, we need to hit the wall very hard to sometime be ready to make a change. Or we do something wrong, we know it's wrong, and then as long as the wall hasn't been reached, or as long as we didn't hit the wall, we continue. It's fine. I mean, I'm still here. I'm fine. And most of those stories in the carnivore community, a lot of them are people who went to an extreme point of losing their health, losing the control on their health. So then they tried what seems the most extreme thing, because they thought, I have nothing to lose anymore. I've been on the medication for 15 years. I've seen all the doctors. Nothing is working. My life is miserable. I cannot walk. I cannot sit in my car. My back is killing me every day. So then they try it. And then in many cases, they get well. And most of these people are saying, I got my life back. And of course, we cannot force anyone to do something. This is not in my conception of things. I'm a true liberal, meaning individual freedom. So I would never force anyone to do anything. But I just find it, and there's nothing I can do about it, but I just find it sad sometimes that people sabotage themselves for so long, to the point that at some time you can reverse certain things. Sometimes you cannot reverse. If you damage yourself to a certain point, depending on what it is, you might not be able to reverse it 100%. And that's
So,
because
so from what you're saying, if I can wrap up the argument, is that if you don't have any wall yet, go find one, right? That could be like what is one of the walls that is stopping you, right? From what is stopping you from living your purpose, living your best life? What are the problems that you have in life that are walls that you're sometimes, we have walls, but we just choose not to see them as well, right? Like we just turn the back and we go elsewhere, but the wall is there. So I think we all have those type of walls that we have to kind of just see them first. What are our blockages? What is happening that is not what is the thing that is blocking us from feeling better? And from there, yeah, I think to add to your point is that you have to go and seek
Yeah.
those so-called walls.
I think that making mistakes are necessary. And through mistakes, we evolve, we learn, and we get smarter. Right? So mistakes have they have a function for our species as we evolved on learning from mistake. Right? So I'm not against the walls per se. Small walls sometimes they make you fall, and I say, "Oh, I didn't see that wall. Okay, maybe I should avoid it next time." Next time you come to the same situation, you see the wall, you avoid it. But a lot of people now in our society, in modern Western society, it's a service-oriented society. You know, um, so people got used over the last 20, 30 years to get someone to do something for them. It's nice, it's pleasant, it's comfortable, but I think that slowly and slowly it takes some will from you, some willpower. So now people are looking for how do I do that? How do I lose weight? How do I meditate?
What is the first thing that you would say to the person that would ask you that what can I do? And I guess we can leave we can end on that to because I know you're busy, you have a busy schedule as well. So what can we say to a person that is really looking forward to, okay, I need to lose some weight now, and all my life I've been thinking that, yeah, I need to move. What would you say to this person as a first step? What could they do?
The thing I tell people, clients, or anybody I talk about the carnivore diet or the nutrition in general is that the first motivation you should have if you go into that direction is your health. You have only one body. You have only one health. And I'm not, blaming the industries, the food industry, the pharmaceutical industry. They want to make money. That's the game. Okay, they're looking about profits, so they will do anything to make you buy this poisonous food or to hook you into a medication for life. That's fine. That's the game. But you have only one health. So I said to people, if you do that carnivore nutrition or ketogenic nutrition, the main reason why you go into it, and I will only accompany you in this, if you accept to go in it for your health, as the major motivation, not for the weight, because you can just stop eating, you will lose weight, and maybe at some point you will die. Right? Losing weight doesn't mean anything. What kind of weight do you want to lose? Water? I go to the sauna. I stay 1 hour. I lose weight. So if you want to lose fat, if you follow a proper human diet, this is the podcast from Dr. Kenberry, but I love the name, proper human diet or a ketogenic diet, you will eventually lose these weights over 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, a year without doing anything. Because you're giving to your body the right thing that your body is supposed to receive and function with properly. And then the symptoms are gone. That's why I say health should be your focus, not weight. Weight is a symptom of a metabolic dysfunction. So it's a health dysfunction that led you to be overweight or obese. So now, if you want to reach and deal with the obesity, you need to deal first with the cause, which is reverse that metabolic dysfunction into a metabolic functional system. And then the thing will follow. So it's very
That's great.
simple in a way, but also very hard, because people need to want that. They need to have a why, another how, but a why. Because as you said yesterday in the interview, the why will determine, and then you'll find the how. You'll find ways to find the how. But if you don't have a why and you have a how, then where are you going? Nowhere. You'll just make a tour and come back to the same point. So I encourage everybody to really think for yourself. How much do you value your health? Do you think that your addiction to sugar or to chocolate or to whatever it is worth you risking a infarctus, heart attack, or all kind of disease that will disable you to spend quality time with your family? You know, I had a client, he was diagnosed with, I think it was pre-diabetes or type 2 diabetes. Pre-diabetes is already diabetes anyway. You know, it's just framed in categories, but when you're pre-diabetic, it means their system doesn't work that much or the way it should. And I said to him, he's eating a lot of sugar. And I said, what are you going to do? He's like, but look, I love the bread, I love this, that. He was justifying his addiction. And I understand where it comes from. I'm not judging. I just want to make it clear. And I said to him, do you want to risk a heart attack and let your family? You're only 45 years old. And then he looked at me like, what are you telling me? And I'm like, yes, because diabetes is a risk factor for heart attack and stroke. High blood pressure is another one. So if you don't want to hear the truth, then at some point the truth will come to you. And do you really want to risk the love for your kids or the love from the kids to you because of bread that we are not supposed to eat? So you have to put in perspective things, and then it's your own responsibility. Freedom. I'm a big proponent for individual freedom, but individual freedom can only come with individual responsibility. You have to take accountability for yourself.
And I think this is
we can speak for 4 hours, but at the end of the day, people will choose to make a change for themselves for the better or not.
I think this is a great. Way to stop, because take accountability, right, and take responsibility of your own health, which has been taken away from us from all this system, we can call it, like, if we can call it a system, that is making us
Evolution. I don't want
making us docile, right? To be able to always seek somebody to give us something, to make us feel better, to say something to us so we can feel better about ourselves, instead of us taking the responsibility. I don't know if you agree on that.
Yeah. But I don't want to point like a system behind hidden. Who cares? The fact is,
how we've been brought up. I meant, like, this is how we've been brought up to
at some point
to think.
Yeah, at some point as a society, we thought that would be a good idea because humans like comfort. And then as a society, we are hitting the wall, that wall. So now it's up to us, all of us, to decide, do we stay on the floor next to that wall, or do we stand up and walk again and we pass this wall? So I don't know.
Clément, where can people find you? Do you have any Instagram, Facebook, on YouTube? We said that you have the Carnivore Renaissance, and your podcast is there. Can you share any information?
TikTok, Carnivore Renaissance, Instagram, Carnivore Renaissance. It's quite new, so people won't probably find much content, but it will
Guys,
grow.
please follow him, make him uh, go up his followers, because I think your voice is going to be very important, and you have a lot of things to share. And I really encourage people to go follow you. I will put links on the description for everybody to check you out, and give him some good how you can say, some good push to continue this.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming.
Thank you for the support. And I think that the carnivore and ketogenic community, from what I have experienced so far, is actually in today's world and complicated world, a community that is actually doing the work of the prevention, the preventive health. So
It's a great community. Guys,
community
welcome.
to join and to ask questions if things are not clear for you, if you need help because you feel alone, because of sometimes you get pushback around you, just go on groups on Facebook or YouTube and on the comments and ask questions, and you'll be surprised how people are very nice and well intentioned. So
Talking about groups, I have a group for the Greek community, which is the Greek Carnivore group on Greek Carnivore community. Sorry, on Facebook. It's a group you can enter, and this is one of those groups I'm trying to build for the Greek community. So hopefully it will get bigger and bigger. So Clément, thank you so much.
thank you.
Have a great evening, and we will see soon.
Yes. All right. Bye bye, everybody.
All the best. Bye
And
bye.
be well. Be well.